Dame Sue Carr, who looks very elegant in all her robes, told MPs yesterday that the courts could have handled the large number of appeals against the post office convictions, pushing back the idea that emergency legislation was the only way to deal with the scandal. In fact, the courts have had the opportunity to sort out the backlog of claims for over a year, and only a handful of cases have been processed. And even then, some of those cases have been the charges have been upheld for some bizarre reason. I don't understand why or how that's possible when there is faulty evidence, faulty AI, faulty computing at the heart, and faulty methodology from the post office itself. So 700 people were convicted. Thousands of people were involved in suffering because of the computing failures. Not all of them were convicted. Many of them were pressed into putting their own money to fill the gaps, and then there were no convictions that followed. But all of them are deserving of a refund of the money that was taken, stolen, diddled out of them, and compensation. It's those two things, and unfortunately, the government in its proposed legislation is confusing those two things, which it seems also the courts are doing as well. She says that the idea that the courts have been unable to cope with these cases, or would in future be unable to deal with the large volume of these cases, is simply very far off the mark. It's simply not factually correct. Well, the time frame alone demonstrates that it is factually correct. Kevin Hollingrake said that if the cases were put back through the courts rather than using legislation, it would be further dragging out the distress for these many innocent people. Unfortunately, by continuing to insist that the exoneration must come before the payback, he is still dragging out the distress. The key is to get rid of that idea that they need to be exonerated before paid back. The exoneration is a technical bureaucratic detail. The paying back is to give back the money that was taken illegally by the post office. Then comes the issue of compensation. And the government is mixing all this up, as are the courts, as is the post office, because it's to their financial advantage. It's to their advantage to confuse and constrain. And it is wrong, wrong, wrong.